Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Things We Know. I can't believe it, but it's been what, about 6 weeks since we recorded? It feels like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, at
It's
least a
weird.
month.
It feels that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably been a month, but yeah, maybe longer.
Yeah. Regardless, I mean, we had we had a nice break. I love the episodes leading up to this. Rachel's episode last week about self-love was so perfect. But today we are recording after having just returned from our second best chapter yet, unique and amazing retreat in Chicago. And so we wanted to reflect on that.
Yeah, I want to also say that we do pre-record these, so we have
Yes.
no idea how we're going to actually be feeling today. Week after
Totally fair. Thank
November
you.
5th.
Thank you for presencing that. We are both holding that we are gloriously happy right now. God.
And I even made a joke that we should maybe record some alternate. But we're not gonna.
Nope. Nope.
It's all gonna be good. So yes, we don't not only like, gosh, it's been a while since we recorded, but we don't usually get to spend like 7 days together
I
in
know.
person, and we just did, and it was just such a neat thing to do, a gift to ourselves to not just get together and work, because we did some prepping. We had
Yep.
toyed with the idea of recording a pod together, but we still haven't done that ever
I know we
next to
always
each
say we're
other.
going to do it
But
together
then
and
we
we
get
never do.
kind of distracted or have fun because that's part of who we are. But it's fun because I got to experience Chicago, your Chicago. I got to meet the most amazing people in your life, all of whom, no surprise to our listeners or anyone who knows Lisa listening, all of whom adore Lisa like she's family and just resent Darren for taking you out of Chicago. Miss
Yeah,
all
that
of
was
you. That was just neat. It was neat. I got to see a
nice.
couple of my people, but in general, just so neat to see Chicago with you.
Yeah, it was great to have you there. We, if you do follow any of either of us privately, you might know we had kind of a tumultuous week leading up to the retreat. And I'm just so incredibly grateful. I said this in front of the retreat participants, so I want to say it for the pod. Like, I don't know that I could have gotten through that week without you. So I'm so glad that I just had you there to reflect and to hold space for me, to literally hold me, to like hug me and all those things. And you know, what's so fun is because so many of my friends do listen to the pod, they already know you, right? And so it was just like,
Hmm.
ooh, I get to meet Kari in 3D, which was really fun to experience. I'm not gonna lie, other than the retreat, my favorite thing was going to Mr. Beef.
It was really great. It was pretty great.
I
I
forgot how
liked it
much I
too.
miss an Italian beef. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
it was so good. And watching that show and then being in there and knowing how much it was going to thrill my family, which it did,
Yeah,
it was so great. But my favorite thing about that, like everything about that part of the day was chef's kiss because
yeah.
we were so relaxed
Hmm.
despite like a very tumultuous evening the night before. I mean,
Yeah,
not that it didn't have great things, but just some near accident almost happened. And
yeah,
anyway, like so like we were like people were arriving and we were just on a beautiful day
yeah.
walking to Mr. Beef. There wasn't a line around the corner like there could have been. We got to chill and like laugh about like finding our way there and the way back, even though it wasn't far at all. So it wasn't just going there, it was also just how ready we were and how
Yeah.
relaxed we were. That was cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. So talk, why don't you share some of your thoughts around this retreat, our second best chapter yet retreat?
Yeah, I would say what's interesting about us in creating retreats, and I've talked to friends of ours since, and someone who was there about like, how do you guys do this? How do you guys know what to do? And honestly, I have to admit, every time like people start to sign up, I'm like, how are we going to deliver all that in such a short amount of time? I definitely
Yeah.
have that little thing, and it goes away pretty fast as soon as you and I kind of get into the vibe of who's coming, what do they need, and I think that speaks to our experience and our experience being at retreats as participants and being in front of people and knowing how to facilitate things. So what's interesting about this is like the atmosphere was instantly great because we already knew who was coming because we meet with people ahead of time, and I think it's a genius idea if you ever are curious about what it means to quote, create a container, end quote. That's it. It's like, how do
Yeah.
you connect people who are going to be together doing some intense personal work and help it feel safe and inviting and supportive. And so the atmosphere was great. And I think partly because we immediately acknowledged, like them, we all have a lot of shit going on. I mean,
Yeah.
I came into this trip like with so much trauma and grief going on or with people I love and so much stuff that I've been holding, for my family. And we got there and you had a lot of stuff to hold.
Yeah.
And then we were like, shit, everyone's coming, right?
Pretty
And
much.
um and it isn't about compartmentalizing in a way that you don't feel it. It's about like, I mean, what we got to model and then really invite them to do was like acknowledge it, hold it, like take care of it. And then also know that, you can put it aside so you can actually really do what you came here to do and then get back to it, right?
Yeah.
Get back to it. So that piece of the atmosphere was so great because from the get-go, that's the first thing we did was
Hmm.
say, y'all got shit, we know, and we're here
So
for
do
you.
we. Yeah.
And we do too. And there's going to be laughter, tears, and a lot of anything that needs to come up. And so I think the atmosphere just immediately was inviting for that reason. Like all of it's welcome.
Yeah. I also understand, like I've said it to you, like I don't know how we know how to do this. I mean, I know how we know how to do this because as you said, we've been at retreats, we've spoken on stages, we've run our own retreats. I led meetings at Weight Watchers for years. I know how to hold space. I know how to facilitate and let everybody feel seen and heard. We both know how to do that. Um, but I think I'm just always so blown away by the women that come and their willingness to step into what they want. That does require some letting go, and it does require some vulnerability. And while this retreat had some return participants from when we did it in January in Laguna, that was about a third, maybe a fourth, and the rest were all
Mhm.
new. And yet everybody, it was like they were old friends from the get-go. And yes, we
Yeah.
do the pre-retreat Zoom. I do think the way we have orchestrated the timeline of this, having a pre-retreat Zoom where everybody that can shows up and they get to share and meet each other over Zoom. Then we come together and then we have the post-retreat Zoom. Um, is it helps. But if these women were not the right women to be there, I don't know that there could be bumps in the road. And so I'm just always so grateful that the women that say yes are not only saying yes to doing this retreat and investing in themselves, but they're willing to say yes to themselves and take care of themselves and also be there to support these other women that are walking in the door. Um, yeah, it's amazing. And that opening event on Friday night where we compartmentalized what we were holding that we needed to come back to. I think of it, you said it exactly right. I think of it as putting it in a little box, lovingly setting
Mhm.
it on a shelf for the weekend. You and I both had to
Yeah.
do that as well. But then also stepping into what do I actually literally want to let go of to open the space for what gorgeousness is about to happen
Yeah.
the rest of the
And,
weekend.
I want to say two things. I'm saying that because I'll probably forget the second thing. So say, what's your second thing? But
Okay.
my first thing is the way we framed it was, especially as women, we all to get through our lives, like, or just to like, and we'll talk about this a little next week, like to like get what we need and to do what we, what we're here to do in the world. We put on masks or like we show certain parts of ourselves that we think are more palatable to people. And so we were really inviting people into stepping into their full selves. And so it is some of those masks that we wear, some of those things that we present that we had to put on a shelf so that we, for some people, that's what it was. It was like, and you can go back to it a little bit if you need to, if it's protective, but how are you hiding your full self, and how are you only showing a little bit was also part of that. So I think it was different for different people. For some, like you and I, it was like, put this shit you're going to have to go back to over here so you can enjoy yourself. And for others, it was like, I always show up this way, but if I take that off, I get to show up all me and not feel like I'm too much. And I think that was cool that it could be different. I could hear that when people were sharing that it was different things for different people.
No, I think exactly right. And then and especially if it's that part of like, I'm going to take this mask up and show my whole self. And maybe I haven't done that, or maybe in the past I've been told that I was too much. And so I still hold that story to then see what between if there's 21 other women go, not only are you not too much, every bit of you is gorgeous and we want more of it. We're
Yes.
always getting that is one of the big pieces of feedback we get. Like, we want more of this. We want this to be longer, and
Hmm.
so to be literally truly be seen and heard as not too much, as exactly right, and we want more.
Yes. I'm snapping. Um, because when you chose that, it reminds me what my second thing was. The great fortune we had to have Amy Douglas with her human
Mm,
design readings do these mini readings for everybody. So many people before we even started was such a great emphasis and deeper invitation for her presence in those readings to be there to remind people like actually when you're your full self your life's going to flow more when
yep.
you resist when you let go of the things that were conditioned, i.e. the masks or the ways we present, and you really let yeah listen to your intuition and let your full self express then things are going to flow better for you. And so to have that be like there as part of everything that was being, it was weaving through everything was just it was perfect. It was so great. And I at first was worried that some people wouldn't have their reading right away, but it worked out perfectly the timing for everybody. Because for some people it was at the end and it was like, oh, okay. And for a lot of people, it gave them the chance to kind of go back to her.
Yeah.
But for her
Yeah.
to see everybody and be like, oh, you're so hard on yourselves, and I wish you could all flow forward was neat. It was really neat.
Yeah, that was quite a gift. So then we move into the second day, and the second day for our retreats is always the big day. But again, what a gift. We had Val Price, who is getting certified in Qigong, and she led Qigong for whoever wanted to show up for those first both morning, Saturday and Sunday. So to set the day off with a sort of wellness piece of this, was amazing because yeah, I mean, our second day, that's where the work is done. And you led a beautiful morning piece. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's it's funny like that you call it beautiful because when we were going into it, I was like, this feels very um tedious, but it wasn't, I think, because of the way we did it. But I think a lot of like, the way you and I are trained and a lot of where I come from when I'm coaching people, and you too, is like, who the fuck are you? Because the whole morning was called like, who
Indeed.
am I really? Who am I really?
Yes.
Because it's like we come in with what we say we want, and you and I are like, hold up, back up, back up. Who are you?
Yeah.
Like what matters to you? And it seems so basic, but it really is like the $1 million question, because if we could stop for a minute and like be in touch with like who we are, we might go, oh, nothing I'm doing with my time is congruent with that.
Mm,
And that's not like wasn't our goal to get people to go fuck. Was more to be like, oh, actually these are the things that matter to me. And it flowed really beautifully, because it went from that to how you're spending your time, and then you brought them into, like tasks and priorities and boundaries, right? So like what a
hmm
perfect flow. But so the morning was really about like values and some deeper questions, I think, that made that exercise more helpful than other values exercises, which was a lot about like, what am I tolerating? What is getting in
mm,
the way of me feeling aligned with the things that matter to me most? And honestly, I'm thrilled that people found that really helpful, because you never know. Some people don't really want to go journal, but most people who come to retreat, I think, are ready for that. And that was a
yeah.
lot of writing and a lot of deep reflection, and putting them in small groups and pairs and getting them back sharing, I think, told us that like, okay, this was great. This is going to flow really perfectly into the afternoon,
Yeah, but
which was
also,
then you.
that was me. Also, who wouldn't want to listen to your voice all morning long? Like, I mean,
Uh,
when like, we're talking like ourselves right now, right? Like, this
right.
is how we talk. But when you are leading a session, your voice is like butter. It's
Mm,
just so gorgeous and calming and empowering at the same time. Like, you and I often have these conversations about inner game versus outer game. And And I will always maintain that you are the master at the inner game work, and I would pass any one of my clients over to you to do that work. Can I do it? Sure, but why would I when I can give them to you? I'm just gonna
Mm.
say it.
Well, thank you. It's funny how people are with their voices. There are times when I really like my voice, and there's times when I don't. So I'm like, I got to work on my lower register. Like when we were calling people, I couldn't do it. I needed to call in the person who's a teacher to like
Right.
everybody. Like it's like when I'm in that soft place, I can't go
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Once, once this is super random. We were on a long, long like mountain bike ride that took us on the street for the last bit in Bend, Oregon. It was like through the mountains and trails, and Miles was like, I don't know, maybe half a mile ahead of us, and he started swerving, and there was semis, and I went, I can't even do it, like it was guttural, and people behind me and way ahead of him heard like it was just this deep booming thing, and I've always wanted that back, just that one
I
time.
can't even pick. I would have been like, what just happened? I can't even picture that coming out of your mouth.
And if you think about it, it's so startling. I'm surprised I didn't kill him with it. Like it just it wasn't the right thing to do.
Oh
That's
my
not what
gosh.
helped.
But that's pure fear, right? Like that reminds me of like somebody who lifts a car up over off their child. Like that's what that was. That was pure guttural
And he was
fear.
like 9 or 10, like, and he was like all squirrely. Oh God.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh, holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then
So then we went into the afternoon. You're
went into the
lovely.
afternoon, although I want to give a shout out to Voco downtown Chicago. The not only were they the space was gorgeous, the hotel was gorgeous, the food was off the chain. It was so good. So that was really lovely too to be able to nourish the stomachs of these women and ourselves as we moved through all of this. So big shout out to Voco downtown Chicago. Highly recommend. Yeah, so then we moved into the afternoon, which was about boundaries and making sure that you are now that they knew what their values were, who the fuck they were, how do they make sure that they live their life in alignment that way? And so really recognizing what their values, what are their priorities, and are they, for the most part, doing things on a daily basis that fall under their priorities? And if not, can you let some of that go? And there's still also those things that you have to do anyway. So how do you bring joy to those moments as well? And I was really, I don't, I assume you might have been as well. We haven't talked about this, but there was already a couple of women in there that were doing a really good job of it. And what was so
Yes.
fun was that they were proud of it. And you could see the lightness as they were able to say, holy moly, I just looked. I had like, I mean, we both know Melissa did, but then I had a couple other people tell me, like, when I looked at my calendar, everything was something that fell under a priority for next week. And so even if you're, let's say, quote unquote, doing a good job, you don't know you're doing a good job. You so many and again, I think Melissa would agree with it. Like one of the things she said was she thinks of herself as doing stuff that isn't for her. And then it was so joyful to her to look at her calendar and be like, everything I have to do next week falls under a priority. And when you can recognize that and celebrate it, it makes you want to keep doing it more and more.
Yeah. I'm at the retreat, instead of doing a lot of clapping, we did a lot of snaps. Like that gives me chills remembering that, because remember
Yeah.
that moment you and I both were like, friend, we've watched you work
Yeah.
so hard on these boundaries. Like to have that in real time unfold for her and for other people to realize like, oh yeah, it doesn't just happen. It takes a little work. And that sort of devotion, as Elijah said, devotion to yourself
I love that.
really gets you there.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Another highlight for sure for me, and this is why we work so well together, is when you kind of came over, because again, the food was amazing. So everybody was having a little bit of a blood sugar dip right after. And you were like, maybe we need to move a little bit more. So we put on Raise Your Glass by Pink and everybody danced. We have a video of that. I don't like
It
how
will
I
not be
look in
shared.
that video. We will not be sharing that video. I
I was in a
knew it.
strapless bra, so it
I
wasn't a
knew
good
as
move
Val
for
was
me.
shooting it, I was like, this is going to be for our consumption only. No one is going to see that video.
I don't
But
even think I've seen it.
I'll share it with you later. But
Okay.
what a fun like 3 minutes to just everybody dancing however they wanted to dance. It was so fun. That was definitely those little unexpected moments are what make me just make these retreats happen, you know.
Yes. And again, back to like the people, the individuals who came, such a wide range of, you know, like of different types of women in the different roles they play, different ages and everything, and they gelled so well. Our
Yeah.
work was like it wasn't work. Like
No.
we set the container, we asked some deep questions, and we created some really great sessions. But like the magic and the connection they made, amazing.
Yeah. And then they got to go off and have dinner separately together, whatever they wanted to do. And like Laguna, a lot of them paired off or went off in little groups, and yet they all sort of seemed to run into each other
Hmm.
on the Riverwalk of Chicago, which happens to be gorgeously lit up in pink for breast cancer awareness. And so, to see them then putting those pictures in our WhatsApp, because you and I went back to the room, was just really, really fun to
Yeah.
experience as
Well, I
well.
did walk out. If you
Oh,
remember, I
that's
did go
right.
for a
Yes.
walk out to go get some air, and I did run into a lot of them, and it was just so fun to see people that didn't know each other before having such a good time together. That part was
Yeah.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
then comes Sunday, and it's always a little bittersweet because it's like, there's an aspect of we've done what we came to do, and it's time to go re-enter into our own life. But again, this references back to our episode on ritual, which happened to come out the week after the retreat. We ended the retreat as we do with another ritual, and this was asking them to make a vow to their life that they wanted to live. So that was, you want to say more about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is something we experienced with a wonderful colleague of ours, Alan, and it's powerful, right? Because it's all about, again, that devotion, that making that vow to yourself around what are you taking from this? What are you going to step into? What are you going to hold yourself to? What do you want to ask and commit to from yourself? And that's powerful. Like being in
Hmm.
intimacy with yourself and in full vulnerability and desire and commitment, that's the most important relationship of your life. And
Yep.
to I like how for time we had them do it just with each other and
Mhm.
not like in a way, and I think that was just even more powerful because it got so emotional and beautiful and like intent. I mean, it was filled with intention, I want
Yeah.
to say. And then, you know, having them come do a version of that, like a version of that with their I am statement and just really present to everybody and receive love was such a beautiful way to end it. And it all just, like I think you and I both were like, oh, we could have done this, we could have done this, but it doesn't matter because the way it went just like flowed and ended and I shouldn't say ended, completed,
Yeah.
really beautifully for them. And it felt really good. Like it wasn't exhausting. It didn't feel like a ton of work. It felt like the work went into the planning and then we got to really just enjoy how it unfolded.
Yeah, no question. Um, any lessons that you learned around doing this?
I mean, everybody asks for it to be longer. I'm pretty sure what I learned is if it's longer, we bring in other facilitators because
Yeah.
I don't want to like keep expanding it till I'm exhausted. That's not the point.
Yeah.
Um, I I think it's so great to do it at a place like huge shout out to the Voco Hotel in Chicago. They took such good care of us. I think it's huge to collaborate with people who do those things better than you, like
Yep.
create the space and bring the food and all that stuff. Um, lessons learned. I mean, probably. I'm still processing. We're just home.
Yeah,
Probably. I mean, I'm
true.
still I'm still on the high of that went really well.
Yeah.
Um, I think like we're going to get to it in a little bit, but like I always I think as we go I'll get even better and better having the next retreat stuff ready, like just
Yeah.
ready. And we did this time versus last time. We actually have a place, we have a date, but like having like a QR code, like there's tech stuff that I'm always like learning. My lesson would be like have that stuff ready.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I think and again, I don't know if this is a lesson learned, but the reflection I have of like we've already said what went well, what would I, and so the question to myself is, what would I like to see better next time? And this is literally a me thing because I actually think you're really good at this. I get very tired sort of around the marketing piece of it.
Mhm.
And it's not that I worry about it because I absolutely believe the exact right women show up at, and it is proven time and time again that the exact right women show up at exactly the right time. I would like to give myself a little more relief around that moving
Mhm.
forward, because I think you're really good. You're like, no, we got this. And I'm like, I'm so tired of asking. So that's a me thing. That's not a retreat thing. That's the first thing that comes to mind is just if I know that all the right women come at exactly the right time, then my human brain or my logical brain comes in, or critter brain really comes in and tries to attack me around that. And I think I will. I also, like you, I think I'll just get better at it each time because it's being proven to me time and time again, that the women that say yes to themselves and to this are exactly right and exactly the right
Well,
time.
then I want to like this isn't like a I did wrong, you did right, but what you did really well was bring in a lot of people, and I was like, sure we would, and there's a lot of people that say they want to come, and that wasn't the right time for them, and so
Yeah.
I'm trying to look long game at this and believe like they will come at the right time, right?
Yes.
But you did incredible work on that, and anyone if anyone's listening and like planning something, because I you and I both know at least one set of people that are like, "Ooh, nobody's signing up for my thing." And I just was talking to somebody that I used to coach who's like, "Oh, nobody's signing up for my thing." And like you, I was like, "Hey, we canceled one of our early ones because the timing wasn't going to work. We didn't really have a lot of people yet." I mean, I remember the retreats I used to do in Kauai, like 1 month ahead, we only had 3 people, and then suddenly we ended up with the full 10 that we had
Mm,
room for. So it was like, how'd that happen in a week?
yeah.
Um, and that's a huge commitment to like go all the way to Kauai. So I would have never believed that was possible. And I would have thought we're just gonna lose money on it. And we didn't. But so I think there's a lot there around believing it and timing and then getting into a rhythm of how it works and starting to see the big picture, about like where we want to be. Do we ever want to do one in Portland? Do we want to be in Southern California again? Like that's where we get to have fun with it
Yeah.
and maybe expand it, maybe give people ideas about how to make it longer for themselves. But yeah, I think it does take a little work. It takes a lot of faith and it does take some work. And so it's not like it'll just happen.
Right.
You made it
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
We
So
made it. We made it happen.
yeah.
Let's be clear. But speaking of making things happen, let's announce the next one because it is officially open to the general public. We, if you were at the Chicago one and you're listening to this and you haven't quite committed, or probably more likely, you're listening to this and you've watched our social media around the best chapter yet in Laguna, best chapter yet, unique and amazing in Chicago. We have already set our first retreat in 2025 called Plot Twist Getaway. Say more.
Yes. Plot twist. Getaway.
Oh, I
Plot
like
twist.
that.
Um, everything I'm doing, I put the exclamation point after twist. It's
And I
funny.
like
Like
jazz
it's
hands
in my
too.
mind.
I like the jazz
Oh yeah.
hands.
You have to
Yeah.
be watching us to know there's jazz hands. Hear the jazz hands. Hear them. Plot twist. It's taking place in Arizona, right outside of Phoenix, March 28th to the 30th. So it's again a Friday to Sunday situation, which we really love, and we're really confident now how much can happen in such a short amount of time. It's designed for women who maybe are feeling burnt out, maybe they're stretched thin, maybe they're disconnected to their wonderful life despite a lot of success. Maybe it's just like, hey, whatever life's been delivering you, if it's anything like ours, it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be. So, whoop, plot twist. How do you like? How do you get in rhythm with it and go with it, like with its flow, and
Hmm.
not like constantly feel like you're bumping against it and resisting it? That's what this is all about. It's about that plot twist. Like, how do we like harness what's good and go with that and really let go of the things that like you're trying to make work and they just aren't they're not serving you anymore.
Yeah, I love the title plot twist because that at one point was one of the things we thought about calling this
Right.
pod was plot twist, right? Because And again, our past selves thought this was going to be a podcast for women of a certain age, and we are in a plot twist, right? We're getting ready to enter or have entered into our third act, and yet, so many of the women that like you said earlier, in both um, retreats, we have had women in their 20s all the way up to their 60s or 70s come to this. And the reality of it is, as a woman, we are getting a plot twist every time we turn around, maybe every birthday, maybe every decade. And so the purpose of this retreat and what we want and know anyone who participates will come away with is to step out of the routines that maybe aren't allowing you to own this plot twist, right? Like maybe you are living a pretty comfortable life, albeit maybe you're not incredibly down for whatever is happening in your life, and you see this plot twist coming, but you think, oh no, 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 I can't possibly. And this is going to let you again make space for what you truly want, to welcome that plot twist in, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond, because there's always one, and you get to choose whether you accept it or you resist it. And spoiler alert, hell of a lot easier if you accept it.
That's so true. Yeah. And what we see so much, I mean, I've been there, you've been there, and we see so much with our clients and the people who come to our retreats is, your body's trying to tell you with exhaustion, sometimes
Yep.
physical pain, that like the safety place that you think you're supposed to like, let play out, like, oh, this is what I chose. It's begging you for a plot twist. It's begging you to
Mm,
like get more in touch with who you really are.
love that.
And so that's all about making space for what you truly want. So what to expect? Always with us, there's gonna be fun. There's gonna be frivolity and drinks and whatever you want, whatever kind of beverages or libations or food that that supports you. But mainly there's also going to be deep reflection. There's going to be an invitation to connect with yourself and others. And, through guided exercises and discussions, women get to dive into what's truly holding them back without the pressure of a complete life overhaul. We're not
Mm.
at all, trying to scare anyone into thinking you come and you're gonna like come back and quit your job or quit your partner. No, it's about like making room for what you truly desire and you may not have been in touch with it for a long time.
I love that because I think that's the thing that is always, I love watching unfold over the weekend. We were just talking about how we also, part of what we offer is we have a WhatsApp group that, and each retreat has its own group. And so, there are some women who are in two of them right now, but there's that continued connection even after the retreat is over. And so and I'm sure this is true of you, like I love watching it unfold in tiny, tiny baby steps. I don't think anyone in either of our retreats so far have walked home and blown up their life. But what they have done is they've stepped into, I shouldn't say, I don't think, I know nobody has, but they've just made that enough of that shift, enough of that tweak. We had a really lovely reflection from Leah in the WhatsApp on the Monday after you and I were still traveling home. And she said, did anybody else wake up this morning and feel like their life is completely different? But I know her life isn't completely different, but you
Right.
feel that sense of newness and truly, okay, this is my next best chapter. And that newness alone, I mean, think about any time you start something new. There's that honeymoon period, right? There's that just absolutely go all in. And it's another reason why we want to be doing these every 6 months, because we know from our experience that you hum along for a while and you're high on all of this, and then things start to creep back in, old beliefs, old um, habits, and so forth. And so to then have another one right around the corner to refill your cup back up and get you moving forward. Nothing happens overnight. This is all baby step situations. And that's what I love about these retreats.
Me too. I love it. I'm just thinking of all the people after our first retreat who made big, big changes in their life, and that's
Yeah.
really exciting. Some which caused them to not be able to come
Yeah,
to the
right,
next one,
right.
which is
True.
great. Um, So if you're considering this, like if it's your chance to disrupt the patterns that have kept you tired and unfulfilled or just aching for something different and you don't know what it is, or even if like you're feeling really good about it, but you're just curious and want to drink from that like overflowing cup of like supportive women who lift each other up. I think this weekend is about challenging the limits you placed on yourself and rediscovering what lights you up.
Mm, yeah. And, again, we are very committed to making these a small, intimate community, so that everyone gets a chance to interact with each other. These retreats are never going to be big. They're always going to be uh, curated to the women that are showing up. So it is completely truthful and not at all a marketing ploy for me to say space is truly limited. And I realize this is November and you're like, I can't even think about March. But if you have an inkling that this is what you want to do, if you have watched the last two unfold on social media and you've thought next time, ask yourself what could be different for you if you said yes to the plot twist getaway in March of 2025.
And actually, when you think about it, when this pod is dropping, it's only 4 months away. March comes quickly.
It sure
And
does.
because it's around the spring breaks, it's a great thing to think about for yourself. And I was worried about that at first. I'm like, my senior in high school is not spending spring break with me, so it's all good. It's fine.
Fair. So we have the link in the show notes. You can always reach out to us at the Things We Know podcast 23 at gmail.com if you have any questions. Kari and I have both had in with both of the retreats, people have reached out and said, can I talk to you a little bit about this before I commit? Absolutely love to have
Please.
that conversation. So feel free to reach out to that email and we will set up a time to talk to you, one or the other of us. But the reality of it is, this is what you and I wanted from the get-go. We wanted retreats for women every 6 months. And we have already done it. And we're doing it again in 2025. We already know that we're going back to Chicago in the fall, FYI. We don't know the dates yet. And then 2026, you and I have a big plan for 2026. So
We do.
hold tight. But seriously, this next adventure, this plot twist getaway is going to be just as spectacular as the inaugural best chapter yet and the unique and amazing retreat. So we hope that we will see you there.
Mm, absolutely. And I just want to say, just to reiterate what you said, like, first of all, thank you to all the amazing women who came
Mm.
to this last one. And one in particular who right away said, I always think I'm going through this stuff by myself. And then I come to this and wow, it just feels so seen immediately.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I
we
love it.
do it. All right.
Yay. All
Thank
right. Well,
you for
thanks,
doing it with me.
Oh my God. I literally can't imagine. We've talked about either one of us are well equipped to do this by ourselves. And I would never in a million years do this without you. I just wouldn't. And I'm so incredibly grateful that you're in my life. And because you're in my life, we get to change and help other women change their life one beautiful, gorgeous woman at a time. And it is absolutely the reason I'm on this earth. Probably the reason you are as well.
It is. That's awesome. Did we have a song? I think we did.
Oh, we did. Thank you. Oh my God. Yeah. So I wanted to use the song that I have fallen in love with. And let me find it. And I used it a lot. Whether anybody else noticed, I did because I just wanted to keep dancing to it. And it is Immortal Queen, which is by Sia, but she features Shaka Khan and Debbie Harry. And it's interesting because I noticed when I was playing it one time at the retreat, there's actually a version with Eve instead of Debbie Harry. So I don't know if this is an older song and she re-recorded it with Debbie Harry, but I mean, come on, Sia, Shaka Khan, and Debbie Harry. How can you not like this?
I love them all.
Yeah, I do too. So it says, it's the whole song is great, and there's a lot of I'm going to dominate, I'll slay. But here's the lines I will say. And in 1,000 million years, I'ma still be everywhere. You won't forget me. the immortal queen. Before the planet Earth was here, I was riding a light year, and then I was Eve, the immortal queen. So get in your time machine and step to the past past. Check it. I'm the queen from the beginning to the last last. Yeah, you are.
That's amazing.
I know this song. I love it.
Love it. Oh, well, do not hesitate if you are thinking and you're intrigued. Make that deposit. Oh, did we say that? Did we say?
No,
Okay.
we didn't say it. We didn't say any of it. Go ahead.
Okay. The cost, remind me the invest in full because I'm just focused on the
The
deposit.
invest in full is 1350.
Excellent.
And if you invest in full, you get a free coaching call with either Kari or I. But you can make the commitment with
A deposit for, are we doing 350?
350.
Sorry, with 350. I will edit that part. We can make a deposit with 350 and then you can just make a few payments after that to pay it off. And by the time you come there, you're all paid up and ready to go. So I
Which is
think the
perfect.
payments, yeah,
Yeah. Right now, that depending on when you sign up, right now it's 250 a month, but the longer you wait, the bigger the payments are going to be. So, yeah. So, but all that's being said, thank you as always for listening. Again, thank you to the women who have come to our retreats. Um, yeah, I think that's all I've got.
excellent. See you there.
Bye, everyone.
Plot twist. Bye.